Now, I have 15 different things that have happened to me with inhaling of the Brown's gas. First of all, I'll say I'm in no pain. Okay, at the time, I was in my late 50s and I had arthritis and various things that were hurting. And I thought I was going to have to live with this pain the rest of my life. I have no pain. I am so grateful about that.
This is the Home of Healthspan podcast, where we profile health and wellness role models, sharing their stories and the tools, practices, and routines they use to live a lively life. George, welcome to the Home of Healthspan.
It's really good to be here.
I am excited for this episode. People ask who my favorite guest so far has been, and they're ones that like great science and everything, but the one that I really enjoyed the conversation was a fellow just explorer, inventor, curious mind named Sam Shepard, who has a company, Valasta, with astaxanthin. And I am excited for this episode in a very similar way. And before we get into the details of exactly why and what's going on, how would you describe yourself?
Because I'm speaking to you, I would say I'm a lively alternative inventor. I'm a president of Eagle Research, but generally alternative energy inventor, and definitely a lively. It works for me.
Fantastic. And I think people might hear that and be a little confused. Alternative energy inventor. So I think the space that you work heavily in and that has kind of come and how it ends up relating to health is this space around Brown's gas. Can you tell us a little more about what that is, why people should care about it?
Most people are aware that when you split water into hydrogen and oxygen, you have two gases, the hydrogen and the oxygen. And it turns out that if you split water in a special electrolyzer, you get a third gas, which we call electrically expanded water. So we call that mixture Brown's gas. The original mixture, which has been known for over 200 years, they call it the Faraday equations and electrolyzers and things like that, are just splitting the water into hydrogen and oxygen. But they use a membrane in the middle of one sort or another. And when you have that membrane in the middle, you can't get the electrically expanded water because that forms on what's called an electron bridge between the cathode and the anode. And what happens is the water soaks up electrons until it becomes a gaseous form of water that is not water vapor or steam. And it isn't split. It's still H2O. So we call it H2O negative. And technically speaking, it's called a cold plasma, a negatively charged cold plasma form of water. So you have four states of matter. You've got your solid, which is ice, your liquid, which is water, liquid water. You've got your steam or water vapor, which is a gaseous form of water. And then you have your plasma form of water, which is that's what this is. So the electrically expanded water is what defines Brown's gas as different than oxyhydrogen. So when you see Brown's gas or hydroxy or HHO, those are all the same gas. There's been lots of people name them different things over the years, but the original Brown's gas was actually invented by a rocket scientist, a true rocket scientist, who even in his 90s was consulting with NASA. He had over 100 patents to his name and stuff like that. But he worked on this and developed the single ducted gas electrolyzer back in the early 1960s. Now, it turns out, interestingly enough, I duplicated his research unknowingly. And when I was building my design of electrolyzer, which I built after I saw the Brown's gas electrolyzer that Yul Brown was selling in Australia. And Yul Brown spent the last 30 years of his life commercializing Brown's gas all over the world. So that's how I learned about Brown's gas.
And that's where the name came from, I guess. He was the one popularized it. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So he there's a whole story there as well. But I honor the man because no one in the world would really know about Brown's gas if it wasn't for Yul Brown. And there have been some other people that developed their own name for the gas to trademark it and stuff like hydroxy and HHO and stuff like that. But I honor the original inventor. As an inventor myself, I like giving credit where credit's due. So that's why we call it the Brown's gas. But so when you see places like Wikipedia put Brown's gas in the oxyhydrogen category, or even a lot of websites that are selling molecular hydrogen machines that what they do is they split the water into the hydrogen and oxygen, and they go out in two streams, and then they recombine them. So you have 2 parts hydrogen to 1 part oxygen. You can't do that. You can't just take hydrogen and oxygen and mix them and get Brown's gas, because you don't get that electrically expanded water, which is those electrons are bioavailable. And we'll get into more on that a little bit later. But that's why Brown's gas is turning out to be about 30% more therapeutically efficacious over the just straight molecular hydrogen. And there's nothing wrong with molecular hydrogen. If that's what you have and that's what you're using, it's much, much better than nothing. I just work with the next generation, or the Tiffany, as my wife calls it, of hydrogen for health.
Amazing. Before we get into the hydrogen of health, how did you actually learn about Brown's gas? What got you interested in it? What were you doing with it when you were doing your research?
Okay, so we start back in 1974. My family moved to the middle of British Columbia, Canada, from Montana, because Dad could buy land at $2,000 for a quarter section. It's 160 acres. So he bought quite a few thousand acres, and we had a big ranch there. But it was so far out in the boonies that we didn't even get radio. There was no radio. There was no electricity. There was no running water. There was no any of that stuff. We used an outhouse, and the 9 of us in the family, and the dogs and cats all lived in a 25-foot square log trapper's cabin, and we'd saddle up a horse in the mornings and stuff like that. It was like I was living in the 1800s. Fast forward a little bit. If there's anything that needs done, you do it yourself. So I essentially became a jack of all trades. And one of the things that needed fixing was engines and making vehicles work. So we didn't use horses for everything. We did convert some of the horse-drawn wagons and stuff to pull with tractors and things. But in the end, my dad would only allow us to have 1 tank of fuel a week when we were driving our own personal vehicles around. So I got really good at getting the most out of my vehicle. And when I left the ranch and started traveling around, working in plastic factory, mine sites, various things like that, my pickup truck was getting 36 miles to the gallon. Now, this is a 1966 Ford F-150 with the 361 engine in it. And it was getting 36 miles to the gallon, which I didn't know wasn't supposed to happen.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I eventually, in 1984, I started my own business as an alternative energy researcher. And I specifically went into that because I enjoyed the benefits of having electricity and indoor plumbing and these things that I didn't have. So even this morning, as I'm standing in the shower and just enjoying endless hot water, I'm thinking, I think back of those, and the house I live in now actually has 4 toilets. So it's a lot different than when I grew up. My point is, I never wanted to be without that again. So since I could get much better fuel mileage, I started my inventing business with the fuel savers, and I learned everything I could about energy so I could duplicate and have electricity and indoor plumbing wherever and whenever I wanted to. I had a couple of really nice RVs that I fixed up with my own technology and stuff like that. I'm in between RVs right now, but they got much better mileage than the ordinary RV, and the internal electrical systems were upgraded and stuff. Like I invented a battery charger that can charge even sulfated batteries that a regular battery charger can't charge, and does it with half the electricity that a normal battery charger uses.
By being more efficient? Like, I mean, how do you do something like that?
I use a capacitive transformer instead of an inductive transformer. So the capacitors don't heat up and they don't waste any electricity. There's no sound or vibration or anything like that. So they just straightforward give the battery what it needs, including the voltage that it needs. If it needs 100 volts to overcome that sulfation layer, it'll do that with this charger and then go on from there. Okay. Anyway, on with what's happening. So in the process of selling the fuel savers, which were carbureted vehicles and things like that, in the 80s, they were switching over to fuel injection. So I needed to find fuel-saving technology that would work on fuel-injected engines, and the Brown's gas turned out to be one of the really good ones. Most vehicles got at least a 25% gain in their fuel economy. And it could be as little as a half an hour hood up to hood down to install the electrolyzer and stuff. So that's where I got started. And the Brown's gas, I learned about it from Yul Brown. And then Yul Brown was building these water torches, what I call water torches. He just called them hydroxy or Brown's gas machines. But in any case, he went to China and had them start building them there. And I got one, and I was looking at the various design of it and thought, I can do better than this. So I did. And I built a machine that was half the weight, half the size, much more manufacturable, and produced the same quantity and quality of gas with half the electricity. So that those water torches I started to build and sell, and I could compete against the actual Yul Brown ones, which didn't make him very happy at all.
I imagine not.
But there wasn't anything he could do about it because my design was totally different than his. So in any case, and I didn't even bother patenting my design. I just started selling it. And after, I think there were a couple hundred of them out there, a chiropractor got in touch with me and said, I know that Brown's gas has oxygen in it. And I'm working with oxygen therapies. Do you think that the Brown's gas would work with what I'm doing? And I said, let's try it out. So we did. And so his name was Lloyd Jacob in Spokane, Washington at that time. And it worked exceptionally well. So the gas would enter the people's skin transdermally and just dissolve like knots and tension and all that kind of stuff. It would just go away. So he was able to adjust the people. In fact, he was able to adjust his wife, which he had never been able to adjust in his entire career of his chiropractic practice. Once he applied the Brown's gas, I guess she relaxed enough to allow it to happen. Yeah, it was quite interesting. And there was quite a few testimonials on that. So that kind of got the start in using Brown's gas for health, even though I wasn't thinking anything along those lines myself, because I was working with combustion and replacing acetylene in a torch and that sort of thing. So that's where my expertise was.
Can you take me back to the torch? So explain a water torch. What is a water torch? What does that do?
Okay, so it's just a large electrolyzer that produces enough of the gas to oxyhydrogen mixture so that when you ignite it, you have a flame, and you can, instead of acetylene, you can do the same things with the flame, only it does it better. It does it at 2% of the cost of acetylene.
Wow.
Yeah, but you have to buy a several $1,000 machine to get that low cost. So I was able to sell hundreds of them, and I'm probably going to be getting back into that once I get this AquaCure thing automated enough that I can step back into that. But
that's on the torch. I'm curious on the car side and fuel efficiency, right? Governments come out with these new efficiency mandates, and by this date, you need to get this kind of efficiency, et cetera. Why would it have to be post-production installing? Why wouldn't the car companies say, hey, look, this is a way cheaper way to go ahead and get this 25% improvement and hit the mandate?
That is an excellent question. And all I can do is give you a bunch of information that'll make more questions. But the point is, it'll question the narrative to start with. Like I had a 1974 GMC pickup truck with a 252 engine in it, and which is a straight inline six. And I got well over 200 miles to the gallon with that truck.
Whoa.
Well over. Okay. We drove that truck all day, my brother and I. Like he was operating, I had a thermal cracking plant under the hood. So I was putting gasoline into the vehicle, but running it on methane. So in any case, yeah, well, there you go. And because fossil fuels need to be in a vapor form, in other words, gaseous form, and mixed with oxygen before they can burn. The liquid fuel itself can't burn, and it has to be mixed with the oxygen. So whatever fuel is liquid when the spark plug fires does not drive your engine. It just goes out as waste products in the exhaust. So, and I personally think a person should burn their fuel in their engine, not in a catalytic converter in the exhaust. But that's just me. Okay. And then there was a time, and this can be looked up, there's still references online, when Shell, the fuel company Shell, their engineers had a competition for many years. They had this competition. And in the last, I don't remember which year it was, but in the last year that the Shell company allowed that competition, the winner had an over 400 mile per gallon car. Okay. So Shell said, no, let's not do that anymore.
I mean, it's a little bit like Kodak developing, or was it Polaroid? Kodak developing the digital camera and saying, whoa, no, this is going to kill our film business. We're going to hide it. And then somebody else just comes out and does it. It's like, so now it's time for the people that did it to take over the market from these people.
Yes. Yeah, that didn't happen with the fuel savers, at least not with me. I was too small in any case. Yeah, not yet. That's another thing. In my research, I have found, and I am a certified automotive technician with fuel saving and combustion engineering as my specialty. I firmly believe that it's possible to build a 1,000,000-mile vehicle. So a vehicle that goes 1,000,000 miles with minimal maintenance that gets over 400 miles to the gallon out of the gate. And that technology has existed for at least a century at this point. So It has been like, even the fuel savers I was using, the vapor fuel saver, I found a patent from Mercedes-Benz back in the beginning of 1900s that was doing exactly what I was doing. I had reinvented something that they had done back in the days when the cars were just starting out. But it never got on the market. And I had over 80 inventors in my files that had been suppressed in one way or another. Yeah. And there was, I even had a farmer come up to me at one of the places I was speaking and said he had driven from one place to another to Las Vegas from where I guess it would be Creston, British Columbia, on a gallon of fuel. And he sold out for, I don't know how many million, but he said, I bought this whole farm with the payout from that. You just sold it and then it got shelved. So I could see that patenting wasn't going to be a very good thing to do when I was selling fuel savers. So I just sold them directly, and I haven't patented any of that technology. People can go on my website and get my how-to manuals and actually build it themselves.
It's amazing.
So yeah, it's that's what we do.
Yeah. Okay, so I totally derailed because I'm just so curious. Like I said, when we started emailing, I was like, I really want to talk to you. Now the health thing. So we started transdermally, Spokane, Washington, chiropractor. And so, like, again, you're there, alternative fuel, alternative energy, here's ways to do more efficient, and you're getting pulled at times into this health space. So I think this is where listeners say, why is this on the Home Healthspan podcast? We're getting there. We're getting there. I promise.
Yeah, we're getting there. I got dragged in kicking and screaming just about. That is absolutely true. And it's kind of sad at the end, but I learned my lesson. Okay. So what happened was Lloyd Jacobs' niece decided to bubble the Brown's gas in water and feed it to radishes for a agriculture college paper that she was doing. And the radishes grew 4 times faster with the Brown's gas water than the ones without the Brown's gas water. So, okay. So then an orchard did that as well. Like this guy who had an entire fruit orchard and was growing lots of vegetables and that kind of thing. He had big gardens and stuff, a commercial garden. He took half of everything and fed it the Brown's gas water and the other half just the regular water. And the difference was phenomenal. So it was enhancing plants, and Lloyd Jacob was using it for health purposes transdermally. So I sent out a email to the various customers that I had, the thousands of customers I had at the time, which were mostly fuel savers and stuff like that. And and some of them started experimenting with it and sending in the testimonials. And by 2005, okay, so this was 1996, excuse me. This was the trigger that caused me to send out the information.
Okay.
A fellow decided to bubble the Brown's gas in water and put it on a cotton ball in a plastic cap and tape it to a melanoma on his forehead. And in 3 weeks' time, the melanoma was 100% gone, clear, beautiful skin.
And would he change it each day, or was it like one time?
That was a good point. He re-wetted it several times a day. So that's why it was in the plastic cap, so it kind of hold the liquid in and stuff like that. So I sent it out and said, okay, here's a potential application of Brown's gas. These are the things that's happened. And there was a guy who was growing koi. The koi would grow 3 times faster. So instead of inhaling, oh, by the way, I'm inhaling Brown's gas as we're speaking here for the people that are looking.
I was earlier this morning while I was emailing with you. So.
whenever I sit down at the computer, whenever I get a chance, I'm inhaling the Brown's gas because it's done so well by me. But anyway, the koi grew 3 times faster. That's ornamental goldfish kind of thing, and the larger the fish are, the more money you can ask for them. So
they can be thousands of dollars. I mean, koi can get very expensive.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So then the testimonials were coming in, and by 2005, so 9 years after that, my customers convinced me to bubble the gas in the water and drink it myself.
Oh, you hadn't even tried it. So almost a decade went by. Oh, wow. Okay.
So we, in 2005, I bubbled the water myself and started drinking it. And by 2007, so pretty much 2 years, I didn't get sick anymore. And I haven't been sick since 2005. Occasional sniffle or sore throat, but I take a couple of vitamins and stuff and gone. So not even worth mentioning. I probably haven't even used a box of tissues in 20 years, It's like, so I enjoy that quite a bit. But then from 2007, I told people how they could modify their little water torches and stuff like that, because I made a tabletop version instead of spending thousands of dollars for one that would do a regular sized torch. There's lots of people that just use the mini torch, like jewelers and stuff like that. So people could bubble the gas with this thing that cost a few $100s rather than several $1,000s, and the testimonials were coming in pretty steady over the years. But people kept asking me, "Can we inhale the gas?" And you could see I'm inhaling the gas, so you could see that the answer is yes. But at the time, I told people no, because I knew that it was a combustible gas. And I didn't want anybody to have an explosion that would go back into their lungs or something like that. When I worked in the mines, I got my blasting certification. And even though I now was helping people blow mountains apart, there was never an explosion louder than the Brown's gas explosion that I had in my own shop. Actually, 2 or 3 of them, but it was it was loud. So I didn't want anybody to be dangerous for it, but that is something you have to pay attention to, the combustibility of the gas. It's 100% healthy. You could breathe this instead of atmosphere. If you were in the atmosphere of it, the hydrogen-oxygen mixture is healthier than the nitrogen-oxygen mixture we normally breathe. There's nothing in the gas that isn't supposed to be in the body, but it is combustible. So you have to take that into account. So I told people no, just use the transdermal technique. It goes into your bloodstream wherever you happen to be. People that had carpal tunnel, for example, if they put it on it in 10 minutes, the carpal tunnel pain was completely gone and didn't come back, unless they kept doing the thing that caused it in the first place.
Created it,
Yeah. So all that was working pretty good. But in the meantime, between 2007 and December of 2016, my late wife was having a lot of health issues, and we were doing everything we could to keep her healthy, but she was gradually fading down. And she didn't believe in going to MDs and hospitals, because she felt if she went to get in a doctor's opinion, she would have to follow that opinion, whatever the diagnosis would be. And she thought that hospitals were places you go to die, based on her previous experience with other people and stuff. So she went to naturopaths of various kinds, and we tried a lot of different things. And it got so bad that I ended up being her 24/7 caretaker. So I couldn't work anymore. So by March of 2016, we were $300,000 in debt because we had to mortgage our house, and healthcare just costs a lot of money, no matter how you're doing it.
Wow.
So, and when you can't work, then the money's not coming in to pay the bills. So that was difficult, but it was even more difficult when she ended up dying in March of 2016. So at that time, I was, and that's been 10 years ago now, and I'm still feeling it. And I'm remarried to a wonderful woman. She's great. But this previous woman was a multi-talented artist, and she had been the director of a Montessori private school, and she just a long list of things that she was good at, and she was highly intelligent and very fun to be around and stuff. It was, I often wondered why she married me, but I come to the conclusion that anybody can make a mistake. So, in any case, when she passed, I was totally lost. I was totally there's no way to describe it if you haven't experienced it. I understand why spouses follow each other into the grave intimately, and I don't even have words to describe it. But there were times when my chest was hurting and I realized I hadn't even taken a breath. It's like everything was just shutting down. I wasn't suicidal. I just didn't care because everything had disappeared. Our life, our dreams, our plans, our everything. And I had been taking care of this woman, never away from her side for more than 20, 30 minutes at a time. And suddenly there was nothing. So I was sitting on the couch, just staring out into space. And I looked over my shoulder at this ER50 that I designed to bubble water. And I remembered a video that a customer had sent me. This is why I mentioned December of 2015. A customer sent me a video of a Korean hydrogen bar that was using Brown's gas, where people could buy a Brown's gas treatment like we go buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks or something. And at that time, even though I was a 24/7 caretaker of my late wife, so I couldn't do anything about it, at that time I realized how wrong I was, and I should have known. But I call it expert syndrome. You do things a certain way, and you got blinders on. So I should have realized, with what I saw right there at that time, that if you keep the hydrogen content in the air under the lower combustible limit, which I knew about the lower combustible limit, it can't burn. It's too lean to burn. It won't burn. And the lower combustible limit is 4.7% hydrogen in air. Okay, so 4.7%. And this has been known for hundreds of years. This is not anything new. It's just I was always working with combustion, so I was working with higher than that. I wasn't even thinking about the lower combustible limit. So in any case, I realized that, but I couldn't do anything about it because my late wife she'd lost her hair and her eyesight. She couldn't even roll over in bed without assistance. I was taking care of her, carrying her to the toilet, all these kind of things. Well, we tried various treatments to get her better. And in the end, in mid-March, she had to go to the hospital, and 10 days later, she was dead. So it was true. The hospital was the place she went to die. And that was a hard time. But since I didn't care if I lived or died, and I remembered this video, I looked over my shoulder and I rigged up the machine with the cannulas and stuff and I put a video camera in front of myself so that I videotaped this in case something happened, people would see my idiocy. It's a good inventor, you got to document everything. So I breathed for 15 minutes that first night, and I didn't sleep at all that night. The way the gas affected my body was I was just bright and alert, which is one of the reasons I love to sit at the computer with the cannulas on, because it just keeps my mind bright and alert all day. Just I go for hours. I sit at the computer too much. So in any case, and for those people that want to do hours and they have a busy life, you can sleep with it. There's a whole thing that goes along with that. So you can get your hours in if you need them. In any case, I started having interesting things happen to me. Now, I was just inhaling, not for health, but just to prove it wasn't unhealthy, that there were no negative side effects. I try things on myself first, on my own equipment first. I always try things before I recommend them out to people. So during the month that I was inhaling before I recommended it, things started happening. Like I had psoriasis on my elbows, knees, and feet, and that skin just started to peel off like a snake shedding its skin, which was very disconcerting to have pieces of your skin just shedding off. But underneath was baby smooth skin, brand new, beautiful skin. So I thought that was okay. And then the thing that really saved my life, honestly, was my libido came back. Now I have 15 different things that have happened to me with inhaling of the Brown's gas. First of all, I'll say I'm in no pain. Okay, at the time I was in my late 50s, I guess, and I had arthritis and various things that were hurting, and I thought I was going to have to live with this pain the rest of my life. I have no pain. I am so grateful about that.
This is just from inhaling. This isn't the
That's correct.
Epidermal. Okay,
that's right. Okay, so what happened was my libido came back. So here I am, not caring whether I live or die, and then suddenly I'm wanting to have sex. So women are interesting. So I and when you have the libido of a 17-year-old, you care if you live or die. So that saved my life. Okay. Literally that saved my life. Plus, interestingly enough, we find that Brown's gas really helps people with depression, all kinds of depression. And there's even a doctor in Germany that's been prescribing Brown's gas for depression for years now. So this is, and I was severely depressed, obviously. So that also helped me. So those are three things that happened, and I was getting no negative side effects. I started inhaling in the morning, by the way, so that I could sleep at night. And then later, when my body got used to the hydrogen, I can sleep anytime. But I'm so used to falling asleep whenever I want to, it was very disconcerting to lay there absolutely awake and alert all night. So in any case, I recommended it to everyone who had been bubbling the water with the gas and taught them how to inhale safely with the gas with that machine, ER50. And then the testimonials really started to come in, just like me. Okay. And at this point, I was telling people they could expect health benefits, and this is a safe way to do it. So I was just amazed at the various kinds of testimonials that were coming in. And it was around that time that I met the woman that I am now married to and was dating her. So this one particular testimonial literally floored me. This woman wrote in and said she had lupus, and her lupus symptoms were gone in 3 weeks' time.
Whoa.
I didn't tell you that my late wife died of severe lupus. So here I had, just imagine the flash that goes through my head. I worked with Brown's gas since 1986.
Yeah.
Was told of the health application by 1996. Was using it myself in bubbled water in 2006. Here in 2016, I got the absolute flash that this technology that I had in my own shop and was all of these decades could possibly have reversed her lupus 100%, and she would still be alive.
That's so hard.
That was so difficult. I can't even, I can't say I wanted to die, but that would be the only way to explain how frustrated and angry and stupid I felt that I had been given all these clues all of this time and didn't think to use it when we were trying all these other health issues and stuff like that. So at first I couldn't breathe. I was just so much in shock at this. It's like they say when you die, everything flashes before your eyes and stuff. Well, this just all hit me just like that. And I call it my Jonah moment, because that's the time that like the whale spit Jonah up on the beach. I'm laying there on the carpet and I realized God had given me this gift to share and had taught me this lesson that this is what I could do to help people not go through the pain and suffering financially, emotionally, physically that we did. There were years of our life that was gone, and in my life, and she ended up being gone. Like her quality of life went to almost nothing. Without health, you have nothing. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how many friends you have. None of that matters if you don't have your health.
Yeah, the old line of like the healthy person has many problems, the unhealthy has one, right? Like
I love it. Yeah. I love it. I'll have to remember that one. Okay. So I made a deal. I said, God, I understand. I just like, there was no other avenue for me at that time to get up off the floor and justify my continued existence and make a silver lining out of my late wife's demise than to say, God, I understand. I'm going to help as many people as possible with this technology that has been gifted to me to share. So that's where my complete segue from fuel savers and water torches segued completely over to the health side. And the interesting thing is, everything I've needed since then has come to me just when I've needed it. It's absolutely astounding how the synchronicities all just line up to help with this particular mission.
Most corporate wellness programs overwhelm employees with too much, or they offer too little to be useful. A Lively gets it right. We start with each employee's data and goals, Then serve one clear, personalized action at a time. No noise, just real behavioral change. The outcome? A healthier, happier workforce and measurable impact for your business. Visit alively.com to see personalized wellness in action.
It is amazing when you find that purpose. So just recently, a friend of mine, Gary Brooks out of Oklahoma City, is a real estate developer. He shared an early draft of his book. It's very similar kind of story, totally different realm. But when he found, like, he just started communing with God, right, who he calls God, and just started working in concert, and everything just started coming together, right? Like his wife went through cancer and they cured it, and like going through all the things of when you're listening, when you're doing, this universe can be a benevolent force. It is. It wants to be there to help you. And so it's an amazing story. And I mean, how we got connected. I don't even know if I think maybe I shared this, but I was speaking to one of our Lively clients, the CEO, who's on the list with Brian Johnson and all these people competing globally for, the biological age, the slowest pace of aging, the most healthy people. And so this is a top 20 person, and said, okay, you're doing a million things. You're working with this clinic. What are you most excited about? What has the biggest impact? And he said, one thing I started was this plasmapheresis, and I don't know, I feel pretty good when I do it. And the other, and he turns the camera and he shows me aqua cure. He's like, oh, and this, like, I got this, I've been drinking this water. And so he's sending me the link to research. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. So I started reading up on it. Not a week later, I get an email from you. And I'm like, okay, I need to share this story. This is incredible. And so it's that synchronicity again of, I had never heard of it before then, but right back to back, this happens. And I guess I want to ask, because what is the mechanism? I mean, when you have one thing that can do so many things, I think you're going to get skepticism. Like, it helps fuel be more efficient. It can help plants grow faster and bigger, but it's seemingly killing melanoma and shrinking it, but it's relaxing muscles and helping cure psoriasis. Like, what is the mechanics?
I'll throw in a couple more. When Yul Brown was going around the world, he demonstrated in several countries that it could neutralize concentrated radioactive waste in seconds.
Did they use it in Fukushima?
They did not.
Okay.
They aren't using it anywhere, even though it's been proven several different times. And you can make semi-precious stones with it. Like, you can make rubies and emeralds and things like that. Just take rocks that have the right elements in them and cook them with the gas, and you end up with your rubies and sapphires and emeralds and things like that. So
this is the philosopher's stone. Like, this is what Newton was looking for.
That's exactly right. Everything that the philosopher's stone was purported to be able to do, Brown's gas does. So there we go. Maybe we're just reinventing the philosopher's stone.
Yeah. Okay.
That was a good insight there. So how does it do it? Well, and yes, we get into the extra electrons. We won't worry too much about using it as a cutting torch, although I can say that it cuts 30% faster than acetylene. And part of it is those extra electrons, because you're oxidizing the steel. You're burning the steel, and the extra electrons help that happen. So, and it's similar when they're neutralizing the radioactive waste. It feeds the energy necessary for the waste to recombine, essentially kind of transmute into a substance that no longer is emitting radio waves or radioactivity, because it's balanced again. See, what happened was that all the electrons got stripped off, right? So now you have the heavy items in the middle of the atoms that are trying to balance. They don't have the electrons holding everything together anymore. So they start emitting. Anyway, so getting back to our body, there's several different things having to do with that, including, maybe we'll have time for talk about deuterium depleted water and how that affects the situation. But we are 62% hydrogen by volume. Okay, our bodies, 24% oxygen and 12% carbon and 2% everything else. Okay, so that 2% is very, very small. When they're talking about all the nutrition and stuff, yes, it's important to get your copper and selenium and iron and all these things, but they're a very small component compared to the hydrogen. Now, we can get our oxygen just by breathing, so that's not a problem. But where do we get our hydrogen from? And generally speaking, it's from our food. And our food, we the hydrogen carbon bonds in the food are very strong. Okay. But we masticate our food, throwing in some enzymes, drop it into an acid bath, go into the lower intestine with some bile, and the microbiome starts working on it. And by the time it gets to the large intestine, the food has been prepared enough with all the enzymes and catalysts and such that there's bacteria, it's supposed to be bacteria there that can actually then break it apart, and you get your hydrogen and your carbon going off in different directions. And the hydrogen goes directly into the bloodstream through the colon. In fact, if people have lung problems, doctors can feed air up their backside to get oxygen into the blood. So just as that's how it works. Okay. Yeah. So getting back to, that's how we get our hydrogen. And if you don't have enough hydrogen, then your body starts shutting down extraneous systems that aren't immediately life-threatening. A quick example would be if you're out in the cold, you're getting hypothermia. Your body knows to shut down blood flow to your extremities to preserve core temperature, so that your body knows. Your body is so intelligent. It's absolutely astounding. Everything I learn about our body just amazes me every day. It shouldn't be possible that all these things work together. Thousands of chemical reactions all happening at the same time, right down to the molecular structure of everything that makes us be who we are. So what happens is the Brown's gas goes directly into the blood, normally that way. If you don't have enough hydrogen, your extraneous systems start to shut down. So first it's the regeneration systems like the stem cells and things like that. So if you get a cut, it will scar. Body will put a patch on it. It won't heal it because it doesn't have the regeneration systems anymore. Right. So people age faster when they don't have the regeneration systems. Then you get down, if you still don't have enough hydrogen, your immune systems start to shut off. And you could even go into autoimmune diseases like the lupus and various other ones. So if your immune systems aren't there, and then if you still don't have enough hydrogen, your organs will start to fail and you will die. So when you inhale the hydrogen, your organs start to heal. If you had an issue, like I had a heart murmur for over 50 years, and my grandfather died of the complications of his heart murmur. So I had a genetic predisposition to weak heart valve. I no longer have a heart murmur. I was astounded several years ago when I'd inhaled for a couple of years by that time. I've been inhaling at least 8 hours a day since 2016. So at this point, like I started inhaling at that time in March of 2016, and I just never stopped. I just kept right on going and just improving things along as it went. Anyway, my heart murmur healed because the wife I'm married to now insists that I take a physical every year. And I told the doctor I have a heart murmur, and he says, "No, you don't."
I'm listening, and I'll hear it. Yeah.
I no longer wear glasses. I'd worn glasses since I was 9 years old. I no longer have to wear glasses. I've passed 2 driver's tests now without the glasses on. I had tinnitus, and that is about 90% gone. I had neuropathy. I lost the feeling in the palm of my left hand, and from my knees to my feet and my shins, totally numb, no feeling whatsoever. All that feeling has come back. I had so those are things that are healing on the skin. Oh, another thing was my scars. I had a scar right here that was quite visible, and and lots of scars on my body in various places, including one across the front of this particular finger here. You can still see it's mashed a little, but the scar is gone.
This is just from breathing. This isn't doing the patch on each of them.
Wow. That's right. This is just from the inhalation. Okay. I didn't even think of doing topical applications until much later, and other people were doing it again before I was. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing of letting 1,000 flowers bloom. People can experiment in different ways, and you learn. Yeah,
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So a lot of people think I'm highly intelligent, and in some ways I am. In some ways I'm very stupid, but I listened to people. This is what I learned early in my business when I was doing my fuel savers, because I couldn't work on every possible different kind of carburetor. So then my customers would sometimes tell me what they did, and then I would tell everybody else. I just feed that information out. So this collaboration, where I was the top of the information pyramid, was quite beneficial for everyone, myself included. So so I had a lot of different things happening to my body. My regeneration systems turned back online. My immune systems turned back online. I got rid of those hand warts that I'd had for most of my life. They were a virus, but my immune system just wasn't strong enough to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And I started to regress in my aging. I was getting younger looking for the first 2 or 3 years. I just kept getting younger looking until I look now like I did 20 years ago. I don't seem to be getting younger looking now, but I haven't aged anymore either. I look the same now as I did like in 2013.
It's wild.
So, yeah.
It's just an incredible story that's still being written. And so I guess I would imagine a lot of people hearing this, they're saying, okay, where do I get this philosopher's stone? This sounds incredible. What are next steps for someone?
Right. And that's a really good question, because there are several places out there where you can get Brown's gas. We think we have the best machine. Right now, you can go to eagle-research.com. So that's eagle like the bird, then a dash mark, then research.com. And you'll see the e-store, and you can go and buy an AquaCure, which is our latest Brown's gas machine. A quick little story is the woman I'm married to now, when she came to start living with me, looked at this collection of pipes that I call the ER50, and I sold thousands of them, okay, but mostly to men, incidentally, because she told me no woman is going to want to have that in her house.
The aesthetics are, yeah.
So that's why I went and got a chassis from a Chinese company, and because I could get them they sold those retail for half the cost that it would cost me to manufacture them in America. So then I reestablished or rebuilt. I take it entirely apart, put my technology in it and stuff. Unlike the Me Toos and knockoffs that are out there of the AquaCure, they're using the same chassis, but they don't have the safety and functionality systems in it that we do with the AquaCure. So you go to eagle-research.com, look up the AquaCure, purchase the one that's most appropriate for you, and then we have a 1-year satisfaction guarantee. So you can use it. We expect it to be used. If you want to return it after a year, you'll get your money back, less a $200 restocking fee. And we want people to feel safe with their money. That's one thing that happened when my late wife and I were spending money on these various machines and stuff to help her. We ended up with these machines that didn't help her, but you couldn't return them or anything. So, yeah, but I don't do that. I went through that experience. I don't want other people to have that experience. If you don't get the gains that you want, if you don't think the machine is worth it, I do want it back. I want it back so I can get it refurbished out to somebody who can use it. So I want every machine to be helping people. And then we also have a lifetime warranty. So which means that as long as you have the machine, if there's a manufacturer's error, if there's something breaks down from a manufacturer's error, we'll pay for the shipping, the labor, and the parts cost to fix that machine.
It's incredible. Yeah. It's and there's some cool videos I've watched on YouTube on setting it up and doing, the breathing at 40% or, on the chart for your own versus if you're doing the bubbling. And we only scratch the surface on some of these uses, right? Like you can do the bubbling into the bathtub and you can bathe on it. So you're getting all your skin. They're the goggles if you specifically want to work on your eyes. Just many manifold uses.
So I call it the 4 protocols. You can ingest it by drinking the hydrogen-rich water, or you can inhale it. And if you do either of those things, your body decides what gets healed. Okay? So if you have arthritis and you want to address that, you have to address it externally. So you put the glove on and you put the gas in the glove, and you can help get rid of your arthritis quickly. Or if you're bubbling the gas on water to get rid of dark spots, or bubbling the gas and putting on cotton or a dressing, you put it on the dark spots to get rid of those. So what you address externally with the gas or the water, you decide what gets fixed. But if you inhale it, your body is deciding. So my arthritis isn't going away, but my headaches are going away. Whatever the other thing that your body knows how to heal. I call it the 3 things you need to heal. And we didn't even get into easy water. That's really important as far as the functionality of how Brown's gas works. But you need 3 things to heal, is what I'm saying, is you need your nutrition, you need intelligence, and you need energy. Nutrition Your major macronutrition is your hydrogen, and it's like a brick. It doesn't do anything. It just sits there unless you have intelligence to know and energy to move it to where it needs to go and put it down. It's like building a brick house. The bricks themselves don't do anything, but if you get intelligence and energy, you can build a nice brick house. So
I do want to touch on to your point of the body knows where it goes. So this is maybe more speculation on my part, but to the point of the body's prioritizing the most urgent issues. If you're drinking or breathing and not noticing it fixing, hey, I had a hurt knee and it's not fixed yet, there may be something more important internally. So I wouldn't necessarily jump to fixing the thing that you're noticing, because your body may say, no, there's this other issue we need to take care of first. Like, give it some time. Because I think there are stories where people thought it was one thing and maybe it took a little while and they got to that thing, but it was probably working through some other pretty important stuff first. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
That's perfect. That's exactly right. So yeah, give it time. And that's one reason we have a 1-year satisfaction guarantee, because we found that in most cases, in fact, our return rate for that guarantee is less than 1 in 1,000.
Okay.
Okay. So obviously it works for most people.
Yeah.
But we do get some returns, and a lot of it has to do with maintenance of the machine. The people just got elderly people have trouble turning it over to drain it and things like that. So, and we're working on that. So that'll be one of our next upgrades, is to make it so you don't have to turn the machine over. Okay, so the Easy Gel. There's a fellow by the name of Gerald Pollack. Have you heard of the 4th Phase of Water? The book, The 4th Phase of Water? Okay, so anyone can go on Amazon or whatever and buy The 4th Phase of Water, so you can see what we're talking about. Gerald Pollack discovered that when you have a hydrophilic surface, which hydrophilic means water-loving, and you have water contact that surface, it will form a gel that's H3O2 negative. So it's not water, so it's not the 4th phase of water, but that's what the book title is. So this particular gel is very thin. You have to look at it with a microscope to see it. But water contacting any hydrophilic surface forms this gel spontaneously. And all of the stuff inside our body is hydrophilic, water-loving. So this gel, when you have water in your body, is formed on everything, which solves 3 medical mysteries. The first medical mystery is that the heart does not produce enough pressure to push blood through all the thousands of miles of capillaries that we have. It just doesn't. Now, the doctors don't generally jump up and down and say that because they don't know why. It's a mystery. The second thing that happens is, why does the fluid go all the way out to my extremities, to the tip of my pointy head, to the tips of my fingers, to the tips of my toes? Why does it get even blood flow? Hydrodynamically speaking, the blood should flow right essentially through the thoracic region and back to the heart, and really not get out to the extremities. And the third mystery is why a red blood cell, which is twice the size of a capillary, doesn't just stop it up like a cork. Why does it slide through instead? So those 3 mysteries are solved by the Easy Gel. First of all, as far as the sliding of the red blood cell goes through, the gel is on the outside of the red blood cell and on the inside of the capillary, and they're both negatively charged. So a gel is slippery to start with, and the negative charge repels each other. So you have virtually zero resistance going through the capillaries for the red blood cells. Which brings us to the second thing that Professor Pollack discovered, which was, when you have a capillary small enough a tube small enough that's capillary sized, fluid starts to flow spontaneously without a pump. This is like the discovery of fire. This is absolutely Nobel Prize winning everything. All things change by knowing this particular thing, which means all water-based life forms, like a tree, for example, a tree more than 32 feet, theoretically couldn't grow more than 32 feet high, because what they say is the evaporation from the leaves makes a vacuum that pulls water up from the roots. Well, turns out that's essentially doing the same thing that the heart does. All the heart has to do is get blood to the capillaries, and the capillaries actually do the pumping. So then gets the blood right out to the very tips and extremities of everything. So those 3 medical mysteries are solved by Easy Gel. And when you think about the trees, well, then that means that you can have a tree 150 feet high because it goes up through these capillaries, which pump against gravity and farther than 32 feet. So normally atmospheric pressure would create the pressure that would allow water to go up to 32 feet. But if you had a complete vacuum, it could raise water 32 feet. But it isn't the vacuum that's causing the water to flow. So all birds, fish, mammals, plants, everything is water-based life form depends on this capillaries and the EZ gel. So when I was in Bad Soden, Germany, speaking at a water conference, Gerald Pollack happened to be in the front row. And during the question and answer period, he said, I know when I have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. He says, how does Brown's gas affect EZ gel? And I said, I don't know. Let's find out. That was October of 2019, just before the pandemic. So it took some time because the University of Washington was shut down a lot during the pandemic times and stuff. But we got the experiments done. And we discovered if you put oxygen in water, so we're talking distilled water with the microspheres in it so that people could see the EZ. Oh, by the way, EZ stands for exclusion zone. And he noticed that there was this zone between the surface and the actual solution that was it would move the microspheres away. So it exclude the microspheres from this gel. So the gel would purify. So in any case, when you're looking at it with the electron microscope and you add oxygen to the water, nothing really happens. It expands just a little bit, just enough to measure, but that's it. When you add hydrogen to the water, nothing happens. The gel doesn't expand at all. When you add Brown's gas to the water, the gel expanded a minimum. The least one was 300%.
Whoa.
And I have experiments here in jars that I've been bubbling with the Brown's gas where you didn't need a microscope anymore to even see the gel. The gel got enough you could see it with your naked eye, thick enough you could see it with your naked eye.
Wow.
And this is probably the most healthful substance on the planet. It's what plumps up all our cells. One of the reasons why I don't have crow's feet on my eyes anymore. It's what allows all the chemical reactions to be happening in our cells and mitochondria and stuff. This gel, if we didn't have it, if it wasn't this effective water, everything would just stop. Absolutely dead. The universe would go flat as far as life is concerned. Yes.
Wow. That gets back to the mechanism part too, right? This is how
exactly
this is all working. Well, George, this has just been amazing. So eagle-research.com.
Yep. So, and I usually put out the joke, it's eagle like the bird, not ego like my self-worth.
Right. Eagle-research.com. We'll have it in the show notes. It's incredible. It has already changed thousands of lives. I am hoping soon it can be millions because it is seemingly the philosopher's stone, right? You're finding, get back to the basics and how the mechanisms work.
We haven't even gotten into transmutation. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I've just been traveling, so I haven't been consistently using it. But I think we'll definitely have to have you back on the show. We'll have more case studies, I know there's more research, everything coming. But I can't thank you enough for your curiosity. I'm sorry for the pain you went through with the loss of your wife. And, I've been told life keeps giving us the lessons we need until we learn them. And so, it's now that it's learned, now it's sharing this message. And so I'm so happy you're doing that.
God does whisper, then talk, then hit you with a brick.
Well, George, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Home of Healthspan podcast. And remember, you can always find the products, practices, and routines mentioned by today's guests, as well as many other Healthspan role models on alively.com. Enjoy a lively day.